Welcome to the first Just Ask Julia of 2024. As many of you know, this is our once a month session where we provide tips, tricks, and tactical tools to help professionals of all stages in their career accelerate their priorities. And we're going to kick off the year at the very beginning, starting with individuals that are not even graduated yet, preparing for graduation. Now, there are going to be a lot of insights and best practices that can be applied throughout your entire career. But our focus today is going to be in helping individuals that are still in school really plan to accelerate and roadmap that last semester, last few months, maybe the last year of college, so that they know that when they turn the tassel, they are going to have job ready to go. And without further ado, if you are watching this on our YouTube, please make sure to use the link in the description below to sign up for a future Just Ask Julia session, because we do open this conversation up to the floor. You'll be able to get even more out of these sessions. All right, so let's get started. So let's start with what's going on in the market. First and foremost, the average time in a job search is creeping upward. We're seeing about 4 to 6 month span for individuals that are starting a job search to what the time that they get hired. Now, this metric is going to take into account how effective the tools that you are using are. If you're using a resume that isn't aligned with the job description, or if you are just applying willy-nilly to every job that's out there, that time span is going to increase and increase. So that 4 to 6 months can even be a best case scenario. And we're going to give you some tools today to really help you combat some of the struggles that candidates face in that time frame, and show you the best way to kind of disrupt your job search. The number of applicants per listing is also on the rise. For every application that is put out, there are about 250 resumes that are submitted, and only about 4 to 6 candidates on average are getting interviews for those positions. It can feel like a drop in the bucket of 250 resumes per application. When you look at that LinkedIn listing that says, the job posting has been up for 8 hours and there's already 85 applications, those numbers can be a little bit skewed. But what we're hearing from recruiters is that, yeah, in fact, at the big companies, we are seeing hundreds of applications that are being blindly submitted. So we want to find ways to combat how we're appearing in that pool of candidates. Now, when it comes to new grads, underemployment is on the rise. Unemployment is actually pretty on the mark with what we're seeing across all levels of contributors, which is just dancing under that 4% mark. But underemployment is definitely something we are seeing increase among the new grad market. On average, across all industries, we're seeing about a 40.1% of 2023 graduates that have taken jobs that are underpaying or underskilled from what they had expected to take for the roles that they were applying for. Now, the lowest percentage are nursing students, which have about a 10% underemployment rate. And the highest percentage is actually criminal justice majors, which is actually at about a 70.3% underemployment rate. So there's a wide range of lists, and I can go on and probably do a whole presentation just on the different degrees and what to kind of expect from your early years of employment and your prospects from this. But it's really interesting to see that from the 2023 group of graduates, a 40.1% of underemployment is really showing the impact of the experience they had in college. Because for so many new grads, the pandemic impacted their ability to have that truly fulfilling college experience with internships and clubs and organizations, and their ability to connect in so many ways. And that is definitely showing in the types of roles they're taking as they enter the market. Now, jobs are in 2024 more than ever. Jobs are being filled through networking. LinkedIn put out a post, a survey in the last year, I believe, that said 85% of the jobs that are filled on LinkedIn have a weak tie connection or filled through networking, meaning they have a first or second degree connection. And this is something that we see from recruiters that we talk to, the hiring managers that we talk to, is that the overwhelming number of jobs that they fill have had some sort of connection, and that it wasn't filled through an easy apply button or a submit now button, and that there was some sort of extra steps that have been taken to fill those positions, and that the candidates are really taking the time to do their research, to meet people, to have great conversations before they even click submit. So some critical steps that need to be taken. First and foremost, we need to plan for what's ahead. Knowing where you're at and where you're going is going to be absolutely critical before you even create a resume. Building assets like a resume, a LinkedIn profile that shine, and knowing the best ways to connect and get in front of those decision makers is going to be really, really important. And doing that for a college student who is still taking classes and making sure that they've met all their requirements for graduation, that's a challenge. And so what we're going to talk about today are some things to definitely keep in mind to make sure that you're planning to be able to kind of prepare your assets and get to that podium with confidence and the awareness that, hey, you've got some prospects ahead of you. First and foremost, the plan piece of this. It's critical to be setting clear goals for both the long-term vision, the what I want to be when I grow up, as well as the short-term needs that are absolutely imperative for those early years following graduation, when you're having to think about 401ks for the first time and budgeting, and oh, mom and dad have now said that I have to get off the cell phone plan and I only have a couple of years before I have to be on my own health insurance. Sometimes that vision and those needs don't necessarily meld well together. And that can oftentimes lead to what we're seeing now with the underemployment rates, is that candidates or college graduates are having to sacrifice some of what their long-term vision was in order to meet those short-term needs. I talk to parents and new grads every single day that said, I just need to get by, or I'm tutoring right now, or I'm working at Starbucks right now because I need to be applying and going after this thing, but I have these bills that I have to pay. So knowing what your needs are ahead of time are going to be able to help you really plan for what are the types of jobs you can be targeting that are going to be more in alignment with that long-term vision and still fulfill those short-term needs. So without a doubt, the first and foremost thing is make a budget. Absolutely sit down and say, what am I going to need? What do I need right now? What am I spending right now? What is going to be brought onto my plate once graduation hits? And what could it cost for me to live in the places I want to live? If you're somebody that says, well, I'm going to school in San Diego and I would love to live here, but after I graduate, living off campus, and that's going to change a lot of things for me. You need to know what that's going to look like. So don't just think about, okay, this is what I'm paying in rent today. Think about what is the rent I want to be paying a year from now? Do I want to still be living with 5 roommates? Do I want to plan for, saving and being able to live on my own? Or am I going to actually be, living at home for a little while in order to save? Knowing what those budgetary needs are is going to be really helpful in being able to set, okay, these are the types of jobs I have to target because I need a salary that's going to be between X and Y. And being able to marry that with well, I know that my ultimate goal is to be this type of professional, right? And knowing where in that industry you want to be sitting, or what types of roles within different industries, what industries you're going to be paying, can be really helpful and impactful in being able to recognize, are my short-term needs in alignment with those desires? Most importantly is to know deadlines. There are a lot of industries or specialties that have hiring pools for new candidates. Accounting, for example, the big 4 accounting firms do all of their hiring around the same time. And so you're going to see a lot of the hiring happen in the late winter, early spring for certain industries. Other spaces will hire on a more rolling basis, but knowing what is happening at what time. Are there internship programs or management training programs that are going to be opening up at certain times, and keeping an eye on the companies and the programs that you are interested in, just like you would have when you were applying for college. A lot of times those deadlines are going to be fast approaching. If you are if you're taking the path of going toward an internship program, for example, summer internships are hiring now. I already am working with people who have landed their summer internships. So don't sleep on planning for what could be ahead, because your dream company might have something opening up and be sharing, hey, this is going to be opening, this is going to be happening. So keeping an eye on the things that are a priority to you and recognizing what those deadlines are is going to be imperative for you to be able to put a thoughtful application together. Knowing your industry. So it's really easy when you get into the frame of college to start thinking like, this is the dream. This is the, I want to go into PR and I'm going to live this glamorous life of walking red carpets and helping celebrities and putting the news out there. When and it's really easy to kind of get stuck in the glam of what it is you're studying, and to not necessarily think about, okay, what is the typical trajectory? Where do you start? Right? So knowing what it looks like to be an entry level person in a chosen field, and what that promotion trajectory really looks like, is going to help you really know what jobs to target. Knowing the roles and responsibilities to be highlighting in your resume, to be able to say, hey, this is the impact I have. I understand what you need out of somebody with my level of experience, and that it is something that is going to help you in the grand scheme of things, is going to help you tell a better story for the individual sitting across the table who has walked in your shoes in all likelihood and been that new grad, um, and sees the difference between somebody who has the stars in their eyes and thinks like, has those unrealistic expectations about the early days of your career, versus somebody who really gets, hey, I need to put in my dues, and I'm going to be tracking coverage, or I'm going to be inputting data into an Excel sheet, and it's going to feel like grunt work, but I understand the impact of that, right? Understanding how that plays into your advancement, and what you will be required to have in order to advance within a company. Um, if you're going after a role in an accounting firm, for example, they're not going to hire you as an entry level staff accountant without the understanding that, yeah, you have an ideal to, secure your CPA license, and what that requirement's going to look like. So knowing what your timeline needs to look like for licensures, for advancement down the road, that's going to help you plan and prioritize the type of role that you want to go after. Getting to know the top companies, the top firms, the top organizations in the industries and the type of work that you want to be doing is going to help you not just wait around for something to pop up, or to learn about a different firm because it just, crossed your path on LinkedIn. Really taking the time to do your research and understand the players in the space and what is going on in the industry is going to help you make targeted decisions, to be able to follow the right companies, to make new connections with the right individuals, so that you can be proactive and having conversations without just having to blindly click and submit, and stumbling upon opportunities. Getting to know the culture at these companies and these firms is going to give you more of an awareness and an understanding of what it's going to take to get your foot in the door. Also, really important that so many entry-level candidates don't take into account are professional affiliations. If you can get into a professional affiliation, if you can start attending meetings for professionals in your region, in a certain area, that's going to connect you directly to individuals that are already walking the walk. For example, there are professionals in, I'm going back to accounting today because that's apparently where my mind is at. There's professionals in accounting networking groups in the Bay Area, where I see people all the time make new connections with recruiters, with accountants, with decision makers. And because they are just in the room, even as an unemployed new graduate, they are able to have authentic conversations and stand out and be able to get in front of opportunity. And I see time and time again, those individuals are getting hired faster than individuals who are sitting at home behind a computer screen. Similarly with networking groups, things like alumni associations and even social groups. These are opportunities to find new and diverse individuals that you can have conversation with. If I can't say it enough, getting out from behind the screen is going to be critical. Having real life conversations and talking to people, getting your existing network to make introductions on your behalf, that is going to accelerate and help you learn and have a really clear awareness around what's going on in the market for your industry at a faster rate than you could ever have just by looking at LinkedIn and saying, oh, this job just was posted, I want to apply to this, and using a standard resume to submit. We're not going to do that, and I'll get to that in a second. All right, so preparing your assets. So now you've prepared, you've carved out time for yourself, you are ready to start hitting the ground running and applying for things. Now, your resume isn't the thing that gets you the job. It's a terrible marketing pitch from somebody who writes resumes for a living, but your resume doesn't get you the job. Your resume is a tool that can help you connect yourself to the role, right? Your resume is just one tiny piece of how you tell your story, how you make great connections, the way that you demonstrate your experience and why you're the right person for the job. But it is a critical, absolutely critical tool in the job search process. And for new grads, this is a tool that can often be underutilized because for so many individuals, there is a discrepancy between what they want to do and what they feel like they have accomplished. Every single week I talk to somebody who says to me, Liz, I just went to school. I didn't do internships. I am a blank slate. I'm sorry, you just spent 4 years getting a degree and all of your time understanding this area that you are trying to break into. You are not a blank slate. You just haven't leveraged the right experience, and you haven't thought about your experience and the core curriculum of what you've been doing as helping you gain an understanding for the things that you're targeting and helping you prepare for what is ahead. So as we talk about resumes today, it's going to be really important to think about what counts as experience, right? So many things count as experience. First and foremost, obviously, internships, um, the work that you've done, but also coursework, right? And aligning what you have done with the roles that you're targeting is going to be really important, because I promise you, if you are to go through a job description and highlight it out based on your level of experience, you'll see that little green, yellow, and red image in the background here. This is an exercise that we do where we ask clients to say, what are my rock star capabilities? What are the things I know I have one-to-one experience doing? What are the things that I have comparable experience doing? And what are the things that I have a gap in? Where are my gaps? If you are to highlight out a job description like this, I can almost promise you that the coursework that you have, the group projects you've done are going to be more relevant than that babysitting job, than that Kara's Cupcakes rolls. No shame on Kara's Cupcakes. Delicious. But the things that are going to be most relevant to that hiring manager are going to be on the job description. The answers are right there. So let's talk a little bit about what that can look like. Paid jobs, first and foremost, obviously, those paid internships, that thing you spent the whole summer doing, hands down, probably going to be the most relevant. But also, don't sleep on your volunteer work. If you're going after nonprofits and you've spent the last 3 summers doing walks for the Leukemia Lymphoma Society and raising money, that is relevant experience. If you have been heavily involved in your fraternities and sororities or student organizations, those experiences and the things that you did and the missions that you went on with those organizations, that counts as experience. I talk to a lot of college grads who say, well, should I even put that I was in a sorority? And I have to take a step back. Yes, you absolutely should, because these organizations oftentimes have a nationwide presence. And if you say we're the secretary for your sorority, if you think about how much dues are for that, for each individual, that sorority, that secretary is taking in and monitoring the dues, managing the funds for an organization that can have thousands upon thousands of dollars coming in and out of it at any time throughout the year, and helping to plan how those funds are allocated effectively. Sororities and fraternities are, they function like a business entity, right? They've got requirements, it requires teamwork. There's so much that can get pulled out of it. So if you start thinking about those, the work that you've experienced in relation to how can I talk about this in a career setting, you're going to stop feeling like a blank slate, and you're going to start realizing, wait, there's a lot more here than I actually thought I did. And then coursework. Coursework is probably the one that gets slept on the most. Everybody, kind of scoffs at the group projects, the like, but group projects really train you for what it is like to be in an office environment, because you're always going to have those dynamics, because you don't get to choose who your coworkers are in by and large. You can make some decisions when you interview about, are these people I want to spend all my time with, but it can often feel like a ongoing group project, right? So being able to showcase how you made an impact, and you accomplished your original intention on any group project or course school initiative, and that you were able to make an impact, even a hypothetical one, um, through coursework and projects, that can really help fill the place and show like, hey, I do have experience using X, Y, and Z technology, through this project that I did. Projects can absolutely help you carve out your path toward successful employment. Once you get your resume in place, knowing how to use it is going to be really important. With your resume, you really align it with every single role that you target. And that is a story for an entirely another conversation, because I could spend a lot of time talking about exactly how you update your resume. And that is, don't get me wrong, 100% necessary. But the other thing that I see a lot of, every new grad knows they need a resume. It's oftentimes it's put together in class. We talk a lot more about it, but what doesn't get discussed is the importance of LinkedIn, because 9 out of 10 people that we talk to that are early in their career will have a very limited LinkedIn profile, and will have had no exposure about the importance of 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 utilizing your story, of telling, you know talking about your career experience in a way that is going to make a difference. um, 30% of recruiters say that they won't consider an applicant that they can't find on LinkedIn. That's a huge number. And let me tell you, the number of early career professionals that I come across that I can't find on LinkedIn is a little bit more than 30%. So it's really, really important to take LinkedIn seriously. In the next 5 years, LinkedIn would love to absolutely do away with the resume and become the go-to source for recruiters and hiring managers for understanding a candidate's background. They're well on their way to doing it. When we talk to recruiters, to hiring managers, sometimes the LinkedIn is the first place they look. Recruiters love a well-built LinkedIn profile, because here's the thing: you only get one shot at LinkedIn. You can't update it for specific opportunities, and you can't, it's not something that you can change around depending on the role that you're targeting, like you do with your resume. You get one shot at your LinkedIn. So you need to be able to tell a really cohesive story that speaks to all parts of your audience, whether it's somebody maybe it's a professor, maybe it's somebody at a company that you're trying to network with, maybe it is a friend, a family member down the road. Maybe you end up in a sales job and you need to speak to your customers, you need to speak to your current teams, you need to speak to those hiring managers that you want looking at your profile saying, gosh, this person really knows how to sell for this team, I want them to sell for my team. Your LinkedIn needs to tell a really cohesive and compelling story. So what we start to do is to say, well, who are you as a professional? Who are you as someone who is in this field? Why did you choose this field? Why do you like this field? turning your LinkedIn into a carbon copy of your resume is short-sighted. Now, how boring would it be if you were to just look at the same asset over and over again? So LinkedIn is a real opportunity to get out of the robotic language of a resume that is applicant tracking system and and um, and hiring manager approved, and really get to tell your story in a more social, casual way, and to be able to let your voice shine, right? Moreover, it's going to help you increase your visibility and what pops up in search results. Because trust me, hiring managers are going to be looking for you. And I don't think I need to tell any new grad that is graduating in the year 2024 that cleaning up your social is important. I think that is inherent knowledge now that you've learned, unlike the generations that came before you that did not learn until way too late in many cases that they need to clean up their socials. But having a well put together LinkedIn profile is going to help you control your digital footprint, your online message. It's going to help you get visible and to stay that way. LinkedIn is also the 100% best way to maintain your digital network. It's kind of like the Rolodex of 2024, because this is where you're going to connect with individuals that you meet. You're going to follow up with individuals down the road. You're going to see what they're up to and where classmates have landed jobs and have gotten promoted. And it is 100% the best way to create connections that last beyond an initial introduction. And starting that at before you even graduate is going to help you so much long term, because you've got classmates that you sit next to, and that you've had classes with them for 4 years. Maybe you don't hang out socially that often, but I can almost guarantee that those are the individuals that down the road, 5 years from now, they might post a job that says, hey, I'm hiring in such and such area. These are relevant individuals that down the road could be really impactful connections, and that you could be impactful connections for down the road, right? And so staying in touch through LinkedIn is going to help, not just with the short-term need of finding a job, but with that long-term vision, because you never know where those connections are going to come from. So I can't emphasize enough the importance of getting into LinkedIn and not treating it as a stuffy professional network for old people. It's absolutely the best way to stay connected with professionals of all levels and experiences. How do we leverage this for your job search? Okay, now we've talked about why it's important, but let's talk about some things that you as a new grad can be doing to accelerate your job search through LinkedIn specifically. Okay. Weak ties, I mentioned them up front, are super important. Expanding your first degree connections, the people that you are directly one-to-one connected with, is then going to help you with the pool of second degree connections that you have. And second degree connections are actually where some of the magic happens. So connecting with having a more abundance mindset when it comes to your first degree connections is going to give you a better chance of being able to have somebody make an introduction on your behalf to a second degree connection, because that is where those weak ties come in. LinkedIn also has business pages for any company that you'll likely apply to. And what you want to do is you always want to be searching and research. I can't say that enough. It warranted 2 categories here. But researching through LinkedIn, whether it's through the business page or finding people, is going to help you create an awareness of who to talk to, what the dynamics of an organization is like, what the culture can look like within any given business. LinkedIn has a lot of insight into every single company, because that's where people are sharing information. You can also uncover conversations about job postings. Now, here's my favorite little trick that I've started doing with a lot of the clients that I'm working with. Say you are applying for a job and you don't have any first degree connections that can make an introduction to somebody, or, secondary connections that feel like they, might be relevant to reach out to. What I want you to do is I want you to take the job posting that you see, and without submitting cold, because we're not submitting cold in 2024, you're going to search that job posting and the name of the company in the search bar on LinkedIn and filter out to postings. And more often than not, we are seeing somebody post on LinkedIn, hey, I'm hiring for my team, come join us, with a link to that exact job description. And there's your ticket to somebody who is actively talking about the role, who is sharing it publicly, and who you can comment on and say, I would love to learn more about this. Let's have a conversation. And it's a great way to kind of dig in and find more people that you can have conversations with that you wouldn't have seen just by looking at the job posting. Now, this isn't 100% effective. It's not going to happen. It's not going to be it's not going to be visible for every single job posting, but I would say that 30 to 40% of the time that I try this with a client, we find somebody talking about that posting, and it's a really great way to make connections for a job that you are targeting. Now, the easy apply button, I did talk a little bit of trash about earlier, but the easy apply button is not going anywhere, and I don't want you to be scared of it when used in the right way. Okay, the easy apply button is oftentimes the only way to search for a job, and there's a lot of companies who will only use that. So I want you to take a look at your LinkedIn profile before you click easy apply and say, is this a job? Is my LinkedIn profile optimized for this type of job? Easy apply can work if your profile has the right key terms. If it's a job that is one-to-one based on your experience, that you have your professional experience in lockstep, you have a great about section, you've added core skills. Easy apply it takes a LinkedIn forward approach, and it's going to prioritize you based on the words that are in your profile. So I will say, if you have an option to do easy apply or not easy apply, only select easy apply when it is a role that you feel like your profile is optimized for. Premium is something that we've talked about here at Just Ask Julia quite a bit. We have a whole talk on it. Premium is something that is worthwhile for a lot of job seekers because it provides additional analytics. It provides more insight and a greater ability to connect with individuals through InMail. And there's a lot of features with Premium that are worth checking out when you're in the midst of a job search, because it can be really helpful, and LinkedIn is leaning more and more into it by the day. We've talked about this a little bit already, but who should be in your network? Don't think just about who is currently on your Instagram, your TikTok, your Facebook, whatever. Expand that out. Current and former coworkers from internships, professional association members. Anytime you interview with somebody, connect with them on LinkedIn, because you never know what the future holds with that connection. Obviously, friends and family, and be a little bit looser about that friends and family one, because especially as a new grad, you have friends who have parents who are connected. Connect with those parents after you spend a holiday with them, or, that best friend from high school's, dad who works at Pixar or wherever the company is. Don't be afraid to connect with those people. LinkedIn it's okay to have a little bit more of an abundance mindset. All right, we've talked about loose connections, but what I want to touch on here when it comes specifically to networking is that a lukewarm introduction from a loose connection, even somebody that you say, okay, my only mutual to this person is somebody who I had a class with a couple of years ago, even that individual saying, hey, I want to introduce you, is more likely to result in a conversation to somebody you're trying to connect with than a cold reach out could be. So don't underestimate the power of a loose connection when it comes to asking for an informational interview, and really, really think about the quality of the conversations that you are starting to have. over the quantity of the conversations that you are having. So if you are networking, I talked to somebody once who told me that they went to 15 networking and informational interviews over the course of a week, which, oh my goodness, that sounds really overwhelming and it was really great. But he started to just like have robotic conversations over and over again. And it wasn't until he realized, wait, if I slow down and really focus on the quality of a relationship that I am forming, I'm going to be able to have a much easier time. And for somebody who was still in school, all of those conversations were, he wasn't taking the time to really think and research. So I really recommend, especially at this time when you've got a lot going on, is to think about how are you having quality conversations and turning those conversations into a next step, into a tangible outcome. And also remember that every opportunity, every conversation is an opportunity to connect. We just got through the holidays. So, you've come home for college, a lot of you are still on winter break, and you're meeting up with friends and seeing people around town before you head back to school. This is the chance to just, share what you're up to. Graduation's upon us. Yeah, I'm looking for roles in X way. Nobody's going to know what to keep an eye out for you on if you don't tell them, right? And so really making sure that you have that openness to share is going to help you carve out a path for yourself. And then not everything needs to be a formal, hi, my name is, and let's have a conversation for the first time. Every conversation, no matter how close or loose the connection, is an opportunity to kind of share and quite frankly, to give back. And if you're walking into every conversation with this is what I'm looking for, that can also fall a little bit flat. So don't forget to ask questions. What is that individual up to? Because that's going to create a more fulfilling conversation. When you're in those meetings, now these are for individuals who are still in school and are probably never touched on, informational interviews, or feel really overwhelmed by the idea of talking to strangers for the first time. Walk into that meeting knowing what you want so that you can ask the right questions, right? If you walk into that meeting saying, I know that there is a one-to-one opportunity, there is an opportunity that I want to apply for, that's what you want to center your conversation around. If you walk into every informational meeting and say, tell me about yourself, you'll learn something about a cool person, but that's not going to advance anything, right? You need to be able to ask the right questions, right? And yes, you are there to learn. And I tell people all the time that, hey, if you are walking into a conversation and you're doing all the talking in an informational interview, that's not going to go anywhere. So asking the right questions beyond, hey, tell me about yourself, is going to help you learn and gain more out of that experience so that you can meet whatever your goals are with working with that individual. Obviously, you want to respect their time. If you book a half hour with somebody, keep it to a half hour, and then make sure you follow up and follow through. Send those thank you notes, send them that resume when they ask you for it. If they introduce you to somebody, make sure you're following through on pursuing that conversation and thanking them at every stage of the game. I often will tell people that, hey, when you go into an interview and if somebody has introduced you to that opportunity, thank them as well as the person that you just interviewed with, so that they can be kept in the loop on what's going on. And know that it is never too late to grow your network. If you are watching this and it is May 1st and you graduate in 22 days, just know it's not too late. Go to those office hours, go to, the career fairs and speaker sessions. And it's never too late to start growing your network and to start getting active, right? It's all in your hands around when you can, get a jump start on this, but the sooner, the better, obviously. All right, so that is going to be it for me today. Thank you so much for joining us for our January 2024 session of Just Ask Julia. I am Liz Helton, and now what we're going to do is we're going to take the time to answer our live groups questions. If you're watching this on the replay, please by all means feel free to ask a question in the comment box or sign up to join us for a future Just Ask Julia session using the link in the description below. We are career transformation partners, and we're very excited to help you accelerate your career with tactical tools and insights. Thanks so much.